PPI, refinance, and rate cuts. We're going to talk about it all on Today in Mortgages. Hey, what's up, Dreammakers? Welcome back to the show. We're talking about what's real, what's hype, and what you should actually be paying attention to out there in the world of mortgage and real estate news. It's Today in Mortgage. Rich, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Michael. Glad you're back.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, I took a quick vacation at the end of summer. Kids are back in school as of yesterday, and a lot's been happening this week also in the news. We're going to talk about it today. First thing I want to bring up, Rich, PPI. What do you make of it, and what did we get yesterday?
Well, for us, it ended up being better than expected. The increase that we saw in inflation was more tied to the goods part of the goods and services part of PPI. So
That's definitely a good indicator for us. And tell us why, again, we're obviously looking at this in relation to what the Fed is trying to decide what to do coming in September.
Well, I mean, it is one of the Fed's most important reports when they're talking about their whole goal is to bring inflation down. This is just one of the metrics that they use. Actually, it came below expectations. Of course, we all want to see it even lower, but overall, I mean, it was just a good report for them to say what they're doing is working, and maybe we're at the point they need to pivot and start to cut. We'll see.
Yeah, one of those things, Rich, I heard today was that we're at below 3% on inflation, but 2.9 is still almost 50% higher than the Fed wants to see it. And so when you think about it in that way, it's kind of an interesting thing. We've come so far, but is it enough to kind of get more aggressive on rate cuts? We don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But the next thing I wanted to mention is another stat that I heard in the wild today. And this is from a report on NPR Marketplace that I heard is shelter inflation accounted for 90% of the rises in prices in a recent report. And so if you remove shelter from the CPI measure, we would have been below 2% for the last 6 months. And so that says a lot about how much we're paying for shelter right now.
Yeah. And there's really three components when they talk about shelter, right? It's rent, it's owner equivalent of rent if they own their home and what they could rent it for. And that is still really high. Listen, part of rent is the cost of owning that property by the owner, right? And part of that is interest rates. That's just passed on to the people who live in those properties. So rents are still high, really high, actually.
Yeah, it's a really tough market out there. We'll move on to the next point, and that is that so now that we're kind of below that 3% inflation mark for the first time since 2020, do you think that we are kind of in the market now where the Fed's going to see this and be a little bit more aggressive, or should we kind of think that this is going to be just calm, cool, collected, keep the steady course, rate cut in September, 0.25%? What do we think?
Depends on what financial news you watch or read, right? Overall, it's coming down slowly, and the Fed they're not just going to get aggressive. There's no proof of that. They've shown no signs of that. Their language is changing a little bit, just getting a little softer. They're seeing improvement. They're seeing it. But I think we're going to get what we expect. We're going to get 25 basis points cut on from the Fed rate cut in September. I think the chances are still super high for that, 90+%. I mean, just a few days ago, 60% chance we're going to get a 50 basis point cut. But those odds are now way down, to somewhere in the 20s. So I don't think so. I think the Fed is going to give the market something. And it's probably going to be 25 basis points just because there's so many economists saying they're just too aggressive. And I just feel like the reports are saying, hey, maybe it is time. Let's test it out. Let's cut a little bit.
Well, we got a lot of time before the September meeting, so we will certainly have time to see new data, make new predictions, and we're just going to have to see how things shake out. But it's trending in the right direction, like you said. Rich, last thing I want to talk about right here is that in this article we pulled from CNBC today, really in just the headline, it says kind of what I want to talk about. It says mortgage refinancing surges 35% in 1 week as interest rates hit lowest level in over a year. Rich, refinance coming back into our portfolio. It's a good thing, right? Let's talk about that a little bit.
A big thing is credit card debt is through the roof right now with your average household. They're sitting on so much equity because of the price growth. And so now they're looking at, listen, they're feeling a little more positive about where interest rates are heading. They're a scotch lower. And they're saying, hey, if I can save $1,000 a month consolidating using the equity that I've earned in this property right now today, even if the rate is 4% higher than maybe they're sitting on now, at the end of the day, I'm saving $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. Like, who cares what the interest rate is at that point? You're paying 29% on a credit card. And that's, what are you going to do with that? You can't catch up.
So, Rich, are we seeing most of that refinance boom come from situations like this? We're probably not seeing a lot of, pure rate reduction refinancing, right?
There is some rate reductions, it's very limited. Some people did buy properties at the height. They might be sitting at 8.25 interest rate, and maybe they can get 7 now. And there is some significant savings there. And maybe they're just like, hey, listen, if I continue to go and not make a move now, it's costing me $200 a month, because I would save 200 if I did a refi today, even though it's a rate I don't like, but I'm still going to save $200. And if the ROI on the cost of the loan makes sense, they're moving on it. But that's a small percentage. When the rates were that high, people were sitting, they weren't doing much unless they had to buy. And so there's still some of those out there, but most of it is people leveraging their equity.
Lots of movement definitely out there in the marketplace on all three of these topics, but it's interesting to look at. And Rich, obviously, as rates continue to come down, there's going to be more and more opportunity there. So as professionals, we need to be paying attention. This is not the time to check out. And so coming back into the fall after a kind of a tough summer, kids are back in school, hopefully got more time, paying attention to our database. Rich, how are we talking about this with our people?
That's it, man. We're just really putting our arms around our database, our clients, and reminding them of all the things like where rates are going, how much you could save today if you refinance. Just communicating with our borrowers and our, they've trusted us with their purchase mortgage. It's on us to help them in their refinance opportunities too. So that's what we're doing. We're just spending a lot of time just hugging on our clients.
And that's what we're all about here, is making sure that we are having that personal relationship with our clients. Obviously, everyone that's bought a home anytime recently is getting calls off the hook from all those big companies trying to capitalize on that. But we believe in that personal touch and coaching people through the right time to make those moves. And so if you're like us and you're interested in being part of the best network in mortgages, click the Grow link below. We'll show you all the information you need to know about what network is all about. So, Rich, any final words on any of these pieces today?
No, I mean, it's all good news for us. It's just, we just want bigger bites at it, like just give us more good news in bigger chunks is all we want, that'll help rates come down quicker, but we're progressing. Things are getting better.
Does feel like it's going in the right direction, getting better every day. And so we're excited about that. Rich, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks everyone out there for watching and listening. We appreciate you wherever you are, and we will see you next time on Today in Mortgages.